Part 79. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 783. This is Xuanhuan's Yanyu Tower, which is very elegant and fresh. In addition to the palace pavilions, there are also flowers and trees, which are very magnificent. Such a large palace can accommodate dozens of people, but it is still very quiet now, which is probably related to Xuanhuan's followers. "We are here," Xuanhuan's soft voice sounded. Zhang Zizai saw that there was a young man standing in the open space in front of the palace. The young man looked about 15 or 16 years old, wearing white clothes and spotless. He should be the young man with the best temperament Zhang Zizai has ever seen. The whole person looked very clean and floating above the dust. At first glance, he was the descendant of the top ancient god. "Meet the God Master." The young man saw Xuanhuan and saluted respectfully. His voice was mellow, showing a maturity that did not match his age. Xuanhuan and Zhang Zizai appeared in front of him. Xuanhuan nodded and introduced to Zhang Zizai, "His name is Yan Qingqi. Although he is 3 or 4 years younger than you, he entered the sect earlier than you. According to the rules, you have to call him Brother Yan." Brother Yan. Zhang Zizai knew that this was Xuanhuan's only disciple before. He was about 15 or 16 years old. His realm was much higher than Zhang Zizai, and probably higher than Longyao and the others. He was at least the 6th level of the initial god realm, and maybe the 7th level of the initial god realm. In the initial god realm, the gap between each level is very large. The 5th level of the initial god realm and the 7th level of the initial god realm are not the same concept. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. Moreover, he is obviously very young. With such attainments, it is no wonder that he can become Xuanhuan's only disciple. His name is Zhang Zizai. He is a disciple who passed the assessment of the God King Palace today. Follow me in the future, Xuanhuan introduced. "Hello, junior brother." Zhang Yan Qingqi was very polite, and it was hard to tell whether he was close or distant. Xuanhuan smiled and said, "Qingqi is the son of Tianyu God. Tianyu God is the laziest. Qingqi was only in his teens when he handed him over to me for guidance. Fortunately, he worked hard and cultivated to the 7th level of the initial god realm at the age of 15. He is considered excellent in the God King Palace and can almost catch up with 11 ER. God Master, you are too kind." "God Master is still the best." Yan Qingqi bowed his head. I admire you, I admire you." Zhang Zizai is already 19 years old. In terms of talent, he certainly can't compare with them. They are all children of some God King God. I really envy them. However, Xuanhuan introduced the background of senior brother Yan to Zhang Zizai as soon as they met. It seemed natural, but Zhang Zizai knew that this was probably telling herself not to offend Yan Qingqi. Of course, it can also be understood in this way. She told herself that it would be good for her to befriend Yan Qingqi. "I still have some things to do. You arrange accommodation for my junior brother first. I will take him to the initiation ceremony in 3 days." Xuanhuan instructed Yan Qingqi. "Master, don't worry. I will definitely arrange it for junior brother Zhang." Yan Qingqi said. He was not very old, but he was indeed mature and serious in his words. He was very elegant, like a famous official. It was estimated that his family education was indeed strict. Even in front of a beauty like Xuanhuan, he did not look sideways and did not show any disrespect. "If you don't understand anything, just ask your senior brother Yan," Xuanhuan said with a smile. After that, she was about to leave. She was indeed the busy man, Zhou Lingxian said. This guy's mind was definitely not on training disciples. After all, she herself was a super genius. Zhou Lingxian was right. If Zhang Zizai chose him, he would definitely put a lot of effort in it. However, Zhang Zizai didn't care. He had always relied on himself for his cultivation. As long as he had the background, resources, and challenges of the God King Palace, it didn't matter who became the master. Xuanyu didn't walk far, and suddenly turned back and asked, "Qingqi, has 11er been here?" Yan Qingqi nodded. This girl Xuanyu showed a helpless look. "Has Suyuexi been here?" As far as Zhang Zizai knew, Suyuexi should still be practicing with Tiandu God King, including Xuanyu, and most of the time she must stay with Tiandu God King. It is estimated that the Xuanyu Tower will be occupied by him and Yan Qingqi in the future. Xuanyu left after asking, without saying what Suyuexi came here for, and Yan Qingqi did not change his expression. After Xuanyu left, he said, "Junior brother Zhang, please follow me." This man was indeed very polite after speaking, but he seemed not to say anything unless necessary. He took Zhang Zizai to shuttle in Yanyu Tower. Zhang Zizai glanced at him a few times. The other party's attitude was average. He did not mean to reject him, but he did not mean to make friends. In this case, he did not say much and asked Yan Qingqi to arrange accommodation for him. "I'm practicing in the East Palace. If you have any questions, junior brother Zhang, please come to me at any time." "Thank you, senior brother Yan." After saying that, Yan Qingqi left first, leaving Zhang Zizai in the empty Misty Rain Tower. There was really no one here except Yan Qingqi. Now he couldn't walk around, and he didn't know anything about the God King Palace, but he didn't care, so he settled down here and watched the clouds in the God King Palace. What he thought in his heart was, will she pay attention to the news that my name is linked to the God King Palace? If a person enters the God King Palace, it's not a big deal for the God realm, then I should still make a name for myself in the God King Palace, and if I really become famous in the God realm, she will definitely hear about it, Zhang Zizai thought. It's been a long time since we last saw each other, and the longing in my heart has long been tormenting me. He didn't know how long the bell could last. Shenxiao and Lingxian must have heard my news, but I don't know if they are doing well in Chendi Tianmen and Yanzhai Xingai. I should find out their news when I have time. And the panda, who has received the inheritance of the entire ancient demon tomb, I wonder how terrible his progress will be. Then Suqianyu, who became the master of the Wang Chuan sword, can probably become the core of the Wang Chuan sword tomb. Counting it up, although I entered the God King Palace, I am still the worst, haha. It's okay, it should be because I am more introverted. This is the only way to comfort myself. At the third level of the initial God realm, his progress is already quite amazing. From now on, he does see the hope of becoming a god. The God Master of the God King Palace is to guide the God disciples to become gods. Once they become gods, they are no longer God disciples. 3 days passed quickly. On this day, Zhang Zizai was still cultivating in the mist. Suddenly, there was movement in front of him. A beautiful woman appeared in front of him. She was graceful and her eyes seemed to be able to speak. Zhang Zizai would never forget that smile in his life, let alone her body and the countless nights of intense lovemaking with her. Jur. Zhang Zizai stood up blankly and looked at her with great excitement. He had never thought that she would appear like this on such a day. One more chapter before 11 o'clock. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 784. The charming woman in front of him walked towards him in the mist. She was so charming. Her smile and posture had appeared in his dreams countless times. Every movement was stirring the fire in Zhang Zizai's heart. Jur. Zhang Zizai confirmed her appearance. He stood up in ecstasy. His eyes were like those of a wolf and a tiger. Now what he wanted most was to hold this beauty in his arms. He wished he could rub her into his flesh and blood and never separate again. He rushed forward. Juxian hooked her finger at him. The teasing meaning made Zhang Zizai's heart blossom. When he was about to hold Juxian in his arms, Juxian suddenly raised her arm and knocked him on the head. Ka! It hurts. Zhang Zizai grimaced in pain, his mind was in a mess. He looked up dully, and was about to ask Juxian why he wanted to hit him. As a result, when he looked up, he saw that the beauty in front of him was not Juxian, but his divine master Xuanyu. Zhang Zizai, you are so bold. You have only been here for 3 days, and you dare to flirt with the divine master. Xuanyu looked at him with a smile. Divine master, Zhang Zizai felt cold all over. He saw clearly that it was Xuanyu, not Juxian. It should be that their temperaments were too similar, and he had seen it wrong. I'm sorry, Divine Master, I'm a little confused. Zhang Zizai didn't know how to explain it. If it was Suyuexi in front of him, he estimated that he would have been killed. Fortunately, Suyanyu had a good temper. You think, you also praised me as the most beautiful woman in the universe. It turns out that you have a sweetheart. Don't you think your sweetheart is prettier than me? Suyanyu suddenly giggled. Zhang Zizai understood that it was not his own fault, but Suyanyu had used some means to confuse him, otherwise why would he mistake her for Juxian? No wonder. Is it that girl? She is quite cute, but don't you think that the Divine Master is more feminine? Suyanyu thought it was Bai Yingying. Yes, the Divine Master is prettier and more feminine than Yingying, but I dare not think too much. The one who is worthy of the Divine Master should be the most handsome man in the universe. Zhang Zizai quickly used Bai Yingying to make it up. Let her think that he likes Bai Yingying. This is safer. Suyanyu was even happier to be praised by Zhang Zizai. She reached out and lifted Zhang Zizai's collar, saying, I'll forgive your frivolous behavior for now, but if you don't perform well in the initiation ceremony later, I'll have to settle accounts with you. After that, she directly carried Zhang Zizai and flew through the white mist at a very fast speed, letting the divine spirit wash her body crazily. Not long after, Zhang Zizai saw a huge piece of white jade below. The white jade stood in the air, forming a platform with a towering archway in it. This should be the location of the initiation ceremony, the Divine Disciple Gate. Suyanyu brought Zhang Zizai down. As soon as he arrived here, Zhang Zizai found that there were many people around. He knew Zhou Lingxian and Bai Qinghua among them. In addition to them, there were 2 ancient gods, one male and one female, with serious expressions. These 2 divine masters, one is Xiang Dongxiu and the other is Murong Mang. Suyanyu introduced. Meet the 2 god masters. These are ancient gods, eternal lives. Zhang Zizai still respects them in his heart, as long as they don't target him. Behind them, Zhang Zizai also saw 6 or 7 god disciples, half of them were men and half were women. These god disciples were about the same age as himself, and their realms didn't seem to be very different. They might be a little higher than Longyao and the others, but most of them should not be as good as Yan Qingqi. They looked like ordinary god disciples in the God King Palace, and the 15-year-old Yan Qingqi was considered an excellent god disciple. They all came to participate in their initiation ceremony. Normally, there would be more people coming to the initiation ceremony, and there might be more than a dozen god masters, but there were very few today. Zhang Zizai estimated that it was because Suyuexi would not be present when she came in. In the past, there were always 2 new god disciples, but today there was only himself. Suyanyu guided Zhang Zizai to meet everyone, and then waited for Master Li to arrive. After about a quarter of an hour, a white-bearded ancient god descended. This ancient god had obviously experienced an extremely long time, and might be thousands of years old. Looking at the white beard and white hair, they were extremely old, and it was estimated that they had grown thousands of years ago. But it is undeniable that this Master Li is obviously much more terrifying than Suyanyu and the others. They are divine masters, and this one is a master, obviously a higher level in the God King Palace. Meet Master Li. Everyone saluted together, and Zhang Zizai followed. Who is Zhang Zizai? Master Li only nodded to Suyanyu. He easily found Zhang Zizai, and with a hook of his finger, he pulled Zhang Zizai in front of him. You are lucky to be a divine disciple of Suyanyu, but luck alone is not enough in the God King Palace. You have to work harder in the future to be worthy of your identity, Master Li said. Don't you thank Master Li for his teachings, Xuanhuan said. Thank you, thank you. Before Zhang Zizai could react, Master Li slapped him on the back. His back felt a little hot. Although he couldn't see it, Zhang Zizai still felt a rune taking shape in it. After it took shape, it seemed that the entire God King Palace was much clearer to him, and he had merged with this land. After receiving the sacrificial talisman of the God King, you will be a person of the God King Palace in life, and a ghost of the God King Palace in death. You must remember that everything comes first with the God King Palace. The God King Palace will train you, and you must also dedicate yourself to the God King. House, Master Li's voice was deafening, it was like a brainwashing. Zhang Zizai felt like these words were piercing into his mind like a knife, forcing himself to bear it, but he still endured it and used the Taixi universe soul refining technique. Confrontation. Even so, after he discovered the sentence, he was still full of blessings for the God King Palace. The so-called initiation ceremony, the most important thing is to correct the mentality of the disciples. No wonder it is done by Master Li, he has strong divine power. Just this move can make any disciple work for the God King Palace. Zhang Zizai, a disciple of the God King's Palace, studied under Xuanhuan and belongs to the Anyu Tower. I have already set up a monument for your soul in the God Sun's Hall. Master Li's voice was still echoing. Zhang Zizai was struck again and again. He gritted his teeth and stood still. For the first time, he felt that this kind of brainwashing was so terrifying. It would change a person's fundamentals. Fortunately, he has the Taixi universe soul refining technique to withstand it. Very good, the initiation ceremony is accepted. Master Li threw him out like a chicken. Zhang Zizai was a little shocked, and then he stood still. He looked at everyone with a confused look. In fact, it was him. Although he was pretending, he was actually in a calm mood. Guy, this is a gift from my teacher. You have to go back and open it again. Xuanhuan handed him a box. Thank you, Master. Zhang Zizai accepted it. He was not very interested. After all, he was still immersed in the shock just now. Next, there is an entry gift from our God King Palace. This is your lifetime gift, but you need to fight for it with your own strength. Master Li's voice echoed again. When we arrived here, all the young people behind the priests came out. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 785. This initiation ceremony was nothing more than a loyalty brainwashing. When it got to this point, Zhang Zizai actually didn't understand how the next so-called initiation ceremony would be carried out. Anyway, Xuanhuan, a busy person, has never been with him. Her life is very exciting, and she has 1 or 2 god disciples, all as part-time interests, and there is no way she would be interested in it. When she saw that Zhang Zizai's eyes were still a little confused, she probably remembered that she had nothing to do with Zhang Zizai. She originally wanted Zhang Zizai to ask Yan Qingqi for advice, but she didn't know that Zhang Zizai never asked him. Yan Qingqi. Actually, it's very simple. Just listen to me. Xuanhuan pulled him aside and whispered in his ear. After getting closer, the fragrant fragrance from her body hit his nostrils, which had a fascinating effect. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network. Rightward arrow. Master, please. The 6 young people here have passed the examination of the God King's Palace in the past 3 years. They are all your seniors. Ye. Zhang Zizai nodded, he had already guessed their identities. 2 people come in every year, making a total of 3 boys and 3 girls. The rules of the entry ceremony are that if you can defeat one of the two senior brothers and sisters from last year, you can get the first level entry gift. Even if it is the first level entry gift, it is a good treasure for you. According to past data, in 10 years, it is already good that one person can defeat the senior brothers and sisters from last year. It sounds quite simple. However, the other party has been practicing in the God King Palace for a year. After a year of training in the God King Palace, it will definitely be difficult for the new disciples to defeat last year's seniors. So Xuanhuan, someone might succeed only once every 10 years. In this way, not everyone can get this initiation gift, even if it is a first level initiation gift. The harder it is to get, the better it is. I have seen the battle tactics you performed. They are very top-notch. They are probably high-grade dry-level battle tactics. I have just seen it. This heavy initiation ceremony is a high-grade dry-level battle trick. It is very suitable for you, but I want to get it. Come on, you have to go through a hard battle to make me look good, understand? Xuanhuan winked. She really loves face, and she can't do without giving her face all the time. The first level entry ceremony is a high-grade dry-level battle strategy, which is almost the best battle strategy in the first god realm, but what about the others? By analogy, if you can defeat the senior brothers and sisters who came in the year before last and have practiced here for 2 years, then you will get 2 entrance gifts, the second entrance ceremony and the first entrance ceremony. The second entrance ceremony is definitely better than the first entrance ceremony. Of course, it is also more difficult. It is almost impossible. It may take about 50 years for someone to get the second level entrance ceremony. After all, the seniors have been in the God King Palace for 2 years, even if their realm has not improved, their combat power will not improve. Everything has improved a lot, Xuanhuan said. She glanced over there and said, for example, the 2 senior brothers and sisters who came in the year before last are already at the 6th level of the first god realm. Zhang Zizai nodded. So defeating one of the 2 people the year before last is a triple entry ceremony, Zhang Zizai asked. That's natural, but I remember that no one has been able to do it within 100 years. 3 years of cultivation in the first god realm is beyond your imagination. And I know that anyone who obtains the triple entrance ceremony will have to do it. He is a heroic figure in the palace of the God King, and the triple entrance ceremony itself is enough to make people desire it. The current triple entrance ceremony has been prepared for 100 years, and no one has been able to get it yet. The entire God King Palace knows what it is. It sounds like these 3 levels of initiation gifts are very precious, but no one can obtain them within 100 years, so one can imagine how difficult it is. What is that? Zhang Zizai asked expectantly. If you can get the triple entrance gift, you will get both the first and second entrance gifts at the same time. Only disciples who pass the examination of the God King Palace will have a chance to get started. Those who have been trained by the God King Palace will not have this opportunity. Among them, the threefold initiation ceremony has existed in history, and no one has been able to obtain it for a long time. It is only a conservative estimate that it is 100 years. Just look up and you will know when the last person received the threefold initiation ceremony. The triple entry ceremony is the source of evolution of the God Lord level, called Infinite World. If the evolution is successful, the totem can evolve to a God Lord level totem. Are you precious? In the entire God King Palace, all the disciples of the God Lord level totem are no more than 10 people. To be honest, it is not difficult to have a God level totem these days, but to reach the God level totem is a big wave. If you want to evolve to the God level, in addition to having the source of evolution, the limit of the natal totem itself, it also determines everything. If the natal totem is not superior enough, even the 10,000 God-level evolution sources will not be able to evolve. This was beyond Zhang Zizai's expectation. The God-level evolutionary source is a more terrifying and high-stakes evolutionary source than the God-level evolutionary source. The God-level totem is naturally much more powerful than the God-level evolutionary source. For example, the royal God Lord is a God Lord. A true divine king means the topmost existence among the ancient gods. Having a divine king level totem is the foundation for surpassing the ancient gods and becoming a divine king. Zhang Zizai estimated that the Tai sword lord of Wang Chuan sword tomb was also a divine lord. As for the Xuanhu in front of her, she is definitely not the divine lord yet. So he knew very well how precious the evolution source of the divine king level was. Even if most of the evolutionary sources of the godly lord level are likely to be wasted, as long as they exist, they are the objects pursued by countless godly lord totem owners. In the godly domain, especially in the godly king palace, if there is no godly lord totem, then it is clear that there is no foundation for becoming an ancient god, and it is impossible to stay in the godly king palace. Godly lord totems are the foundation of the godly king palace, and only godly lord totems have the hope of becoming a core group of people. Zhang Zizai knew that the evolutionary sources of the godly lord level were the objects of desire of countless godly followers even in the godly king palace, but he did not expect that there would be such an award in the initiation ceremony. Although it seemed impossible to get the triple initiation ceremony, Zhang Zizai was still excited. Be down to earth, my godly followers should get the first initiation ceremony. Can you do it? Xuanhu looked at him teasingly, licked her red lips, and said, if you can do it, the godly master may have some rewards, such as personal guidance on your cultivation. That ambiguous look really made Zhang Zizai envious. It seems a bit difficult. Zhang Zizai glanced at his senior brothers and sisters. They didn't think highly of him. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 786. Alas, you are discouraged. It seems that you have no fighting spirit. Just do your best. Xuanhu pouted her lips. In fact, she just wanted to try her luck. She didn't have high expectations for Zhang Zizai. After all, only one person could get the first level of initiation gift every 10 years. After practicing in the God King Palace for a year, with the personal guidance of the ancient gods and the guidance of famous teachers, at least in terms of combat, he will transform a lot. Moreover, there are many ancient battlefields in the God King Palace, which will greatly hone the combat experience of the God disciples. Have you finished the introduction? Zhang Zizai, it's time to choose an opponent. Do you choose senior brother Xiang Dongliu or senior sister Zhao Qingqing? After brainwashing Zhang Zizai, Master Li stroked his beard and looked at him with a kind face. It was probably because he was Xuanhu's god disciple. The senior brother named Xiang Dongliu looked very similar to the god master who wanted to be Xiang Dongxiu. They were obviously father and son, or grandfather and grandson. Anyway, they were descendants of god masters, and their expressions looked quite arrogant. They came to be challenged, and if they lost, they would definitely be laughed at. The disciples who passed the assessment were looked down upon, so they naturally had to fight with all their strength. Moreover, there were many ancient gods present. If they behaved casually, the ancient gods would be able to see it at a glance. Choose a woman. Xiang Dongliu is not easy to deal with. Xuanhu didn't move her mouth, but the voice had already come over. It's okay, I don't like to hit women, Zhang Zizai muttered. She should be able to hear it, and before she agreed, he said to Master Li, Master Li, I choose senior brother Xiang Dongliu. Are you sure? Master Li was a little surprised, and it was obvious that Zhao Qingqing looked a little easier to deal with. Sure, senior sister Zhao is as beautiful as a flower, I can't offend the beauty, Zhang Zizai said. Interesting. Master Li laughed. Xuanhu also covered her mouth and laughed. She thought that Zhang Zizai was really interesting, but he didn't listen to her. In this day and age, there are really not many people who don't even listen to themselves. In fact, apart from her naughty sister, she couldn't find many, such as Yan Qingqi, who was obedient. Maybe this kid doesn't know how terrible I am. Wow, have I become gentle recently, Xuanyu thought to herself. She didn't have much opinion on Zhang Zizai's choice, but the young man named Xiang Dongliu was a little unhappy. Zhao Qingqing was his woman. The two of them had practiced together and became the immortal couple of the God King Palace. They were considered married. Zhang Zizai actually praised her, which made her feel uncomfortable. I heard that junior brother Zhang was so powerful in the Fallen Valley. Senior brother, I am not talented, but I want to ask for your advice. Yang Dongliu walked out and bowed. It should be me who asks for advice. Zhang Zizai walked into the arena, moving quickly, without any dragging. He was simple and straightforward, and was ready to fight directly. We are all straightforward people, so let's start the competition. As a senior brother, Xiang Dongliu, remember to stop at the right time and don't let junior brother get seriously injured, Master Li said. This is Xuanyu's god disciple, he just reminded her, don't bother to pay attention to her. In fact, he didn't understand why Xuanyu wanted to accept Zhang Zizai, but when he heard that Xuanyu had set up a temptation to stimulate the talents of the major dynasties, he felt that the explanation was reasonable. After all, Xuanyu was a talented and beautiful woman with a top background, and countless god disciples wanted to join her, but they were all rejected because of their busy schedules. Zhang Zizai and Xiang Dongliu went to war directly. There was enough battlefield for them to fight on this white jade. The totem of Xiang Dongliu was a god-level totem, the purple demon dragon totem. The demon dragon was not a real god dragon, but a dragon in the water. However, when it grew to the extreme and evolved into a miracle dragon, it was also very scary. Luckily, his realm was still at the 5th level of the initial god realm. Last year, he defeated Long Yao, Feng Xian, and Qi and came to the God King Palace. After a year of practice, his realm was almost broken through, and he also mastered many fighting methods. In the current battle, it is not a problem for him to deal with 2 of Long Yao and the other 2 alone, and even to defeat the 3 of them together. Of course, Zhao Qingqing's progress in this year is not as great as his. After all, there are not many people who regard their father as a divine master. He held a purple long sword in his hand, and countless sword beams were shot out. Each sword beam could turn into a dragon bite. The purple light pierced the ground and strangled the endless white mist. However, Zhang Zizai was faster than him. If he didn't make a move, it would be fine. Once he made a move, it would be an explosion. It only took a moment from the appearance of the killing god Xianbing to the display of the great chaos immortal sword formation. At the moment when Xiang Dongliu attacked, his great chaos immortal sword formation suppressed him. Break. At this moment, the sword force was suppressed, and Zhang Zizai directly and roughly broke the balance. The immortal sword formation tore through Xiang Dongliu's sword moves, causing his defense to collapse directly. The violent sword energy surged and fought on his body, knocking him out. His body was instantly covered with sword light, and many of the sword energy containing the power of the source of destruction almost penetrated his body. The victory or defeat was decided at this moment. Zhang Zizai directly crushed his opponent. When Xiang Dongliu was directly injured, there was no need to continue the battle. At this time, Xiang Dongliu himself had not reacted yet, and the sword in his hand had already flown out, and he didn't know where it flew. And Zhang Zizai's killing god Xianbing had appeared in front of him, pointing at his chest, and he had already lost. You. Xiang Dongliu was still dazed. Brother, thank you. Zhang Zizai bowed, put away the killing god Xianbing neatly, and then turned back to Xuanyu's side. Master Divine, am I handsome? Zhang Zizai grinned. In fact, he was quite sunny. It's okay, a bit handsome. Xuanyu made him laugh. She would not reject Zhang Zizai's help. She loved face anyway. The stronger Zhang Zizai was, the more people would think he had good vision. If he continued to perform well in the future, others would think he had good guidance. She expected Zhang Zizhe to get the first level of entry gift, but she didn't expect that he could defeat Xiang Dongliu so quickly. She thought Zhang Zizhe and Xiang Dongliu were still on par. Congratulations, Yanyu, your disciple got the first level of entry gift, which is rare in 10 years. Master Li was satisfied with the result. He was also a little surprised. Now he secretly thought that Su Yanyu did have some vision. Congratulations, junior sister Su. Several other masters began to congratulate, including Xiang Dongxiu himself. He had no choice. Anyway, his son was just defeated in the battle, and the loss was not great. As long as he was defeated head-on, he had nothing to say. This kid has some skills, but he has a long way to go in the future, Su Yanyu said. Kid. Zhang Zizhe was puzzled. He already had a daughter, but Su Yanyu, who was in her 20s, actually called him her child. You know, Zhang Yuning was also in her 20s now, and she was his sister. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 787. After complimenting them, Su Yanyu seemed to be in a good mood and said to Zhang Zizhe, let's go back to Yanyu Tower. Master, why do you want to go back? Zhang Zizhe saw that others were also preparing to leave. If you don't go back, are you going to live in a tent here? Su Yanyu laughed, and the others also laughed. But, I still have to continue to challenge, Zhang Zizhe said seriously. Are you kidding? They are above the 6th level of the initial God realm. Su Yanyu stared into his eyes. It is normal to break through to the 6th level of the initial God realm in more than 2 years. The two who came in the year before last are already the 6th level of the initial God realm. One can deal with several Xiang Dongliu. Su Yanyu repeated again. I know, but you can try it. It doesn't cost money anyway. Zhang Zizhe smiled. Do you really want to try it? Su Yanyu certainly felt that there was no need to waste time. But if Zhang Zizhe insisted, she would be fine. Daring to challenge the strong is also a spirit. Even if you lose, you can adjust your mind. After thinking carefully, Zhang Zizhe was right. It was just one chance anyway, so why not give it a try? Hearing their conversation, the divine masters and divine followers over there all stopped. Junior sister Su's divine followers are quite motivated, and their spirit deserves praise. Xiang Dongxiu smiled. Let him suffer a little, or else he will think that there is no one in our divine king palace who can suppress him. Su Yanyu chuckled. It seems that she also thinks that Zhang Zizhe is a little frivolous. Zhang Zizhe, who do you want to challenge among these two? The second level entrance ceremony, to be exact, has not been given for 73 years. Master Li smiled. Zhang Zizhe took a look and suddenly asked Su Yanyu, Master, are the two senior brothers and sisters from the year before last at the 6th level of the initial God realm? Su Yanyu frowned slightly. She felt that Zhang Zizhe was too proud and needed to sharpen his skills. She said directly, Sun Yu is already at the 7th level of the initial God realm, but senior sister Qin Yi is still at the 6th level of the initial God realm, but I'm afraid she can defeat the senior brothers and sisters from the year before last together. Zhang Zizhe looked over. Qin Yi, who passed the test 2 years ago, had not yet broken through to the 7th level of the initial God realm. This senior sister Qin was also very charming. She was the only one who could be comparable to Su Yanyu here, just a little inferior. If Su Yanyu was not there, her charm and gracefulness would also be very attractive, especially her figure was very moving, with plump hips and thin waist, and full breasts. Such curves were enough to arouse Lei Daihuo. Hearing Zhang Zizhe suddenly ask her, Qin Yi was stunned for a moment, then blinked and asked, Junior brother Zhang, do you want to play with me? Is it fun? Zhang Zizhe asked. It's fun. Qin Yi smiled brightly. She found that this guy was really bold. He dared to talk to her like this in front of her man. He was really brave. Xuanhuan next to her also smiled and whispered in her ear, he dreamed of the god-level evolution source. You just need to teach him a lesson. Don't lose the face of Master Su. I know. Qin Yi smiled charmingly, walked out, and said to Zhang Zizai, junior brother is probably very powerful. I am worried that my name will be recorded in history. After all, I haven't given out the triple entrance gift for many years. It's okay, no one will blame me. Zhang Zizai smiled. His words were actually arrogant. Although he seemed to be smiling, they actually made all the divine masters feel uncomfortable. After all, in a battle where he had no chance of winning, he still spoke so arrogantly. This was a bit too much. This was the palace of the divine king, not the dynasties of other places. No matter how rebellious one was in the dynasties, one had to put away his arrogance when he came here, otherwise he would definitely suffer a great setback. So when Xuanhuan heard this, she hesitated for a moment. She thought that this kid might have lost all his face before he gave her face. Yi, you should be gentler. Divine Master Murong Meng said quietly to Qin Yi. Divine Master, don't worry. Yi still knows her limits when it comes to this brother, Qin Yi said. She let go of Sun Yu's hand and came to Zhang Zizai's eyes and said, junior brother, please be gentle. You didn't want to offend the beauty just now. Now you are choosing the senior sister. Isn't the senior sister a beauty? Senior sister, some beauties, even if they are offending, dare to leave an impression on the senior sister, Zhang Zizai said. She laughed and looked quite happy. After all, there were not many people who could bring such a lively atmosphere. This amused Sun Yu. Qin Yi had no shortage of suitors. He was definitely confident that he could make her devoted. Qin Yi could teach such a jerk a lesson herself, so he didn't need to do anything. You want a beating? Qin Yi moved her body lightly and stretched out her slender hands. Such a delicate figure, but after the burst of the source power, showed amazing strength. I didn't expect that Qin Yi was good at close combat. When she started, her body was just like a water snake. If Zhang Zizai guessed correctly, she should be a snake totem. In her totem, Zhang Zizai saw a green demon snake. The demon snake was huge and ferocious, as if it came from the ancient times, and possessed terrifying physical strength. When Qin Yi appeared in front of him in the blink of an eye, a light slap burst out with a force of tens of millions of pounds, and it felt like a mountain could be broken in an instant. Such power hit Zhang Zizai so fast, fierce and accurate that with a snap, the Demon Lord Cauldron was directly knocked out, and Zhang Zizai was blown away, rolling on the ground with the Demon Lord Cauldron for several rounds. However, Zhang Zizai still stood up. The shock of the Demon Lord Cauldron made his internal organs tremble. The power of the 6th level of the initial God realm was indeed huge, but he could still hold on. At this time, he also performed the initial demon dragon transformation. For a time, thick dragon scales covered his whole body, and he also became a fighting machine. God-level totem weapon, the appearance of the Demon Lord Cauldron surprised Master Li and the others a little. After all, not many people can get the recognition of the God-level totem weapon when they are in the initial God realm. Oh, you even brought a tortoise shell. Qin Yi's slap was painful. She shook her palm and looked a little surprised, but this did not change her strength. She smiled and said, then let me break your tortoise shell and expose your head. Why does Zhang Zizai feel that she is more exposed than herself? Isn't there a man next to her? Fortunately, other people can't hear any mystery and look at her seriously, such as Xuanhuan. It seems that she is still quite pure. Today there are 3 chapters, and I owe another chapter. I will return it in August. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 788. When Qin Yi took action, her soft body twisted like a water snake, which was really charming. After all, she was also a proud girl who could enter the God King Palace. She was very skilled, with a very good appearance, temperament, and cultivation. But Qin Yi was also very troubled. Most of the opponents she met before were not able to adapt to her close-range violent attacks. Her totem gave her a body and strength comparable to that of a source beast, but Zhang Zizai happened to have the Demon Lord Cauldron, which was like a sphere. All attacks hit it in a short period of time, and the opponent rolled around and unloaded the power. The real lethality to Zhang Zizai was less than 10%. And Zhang Zizai was obviously able to hold on under her 10% strength. I don't believe it. I can't break your tortoise shell. Qin Yi smiled tenderly. Her body was actually getting bigger, and her body was gradually covered with snake scales. It looked a bit similar to Zhang Zizai's initial magic dragon transformation, but it was very smooth. Bang bang bang. Qin Yi flashed around Zhang Zizai at a swift and explosive speed, creating a certain degree of suppression. Although Zhang Zizai has a divine totem weapon to protect his body, it is not his own power after all. If Qin Yi wants to take him down, it will take some effort. This is probably the capital for him to dare to challenge the triple entrance ceremony. Zhou Lingxian analyzed. However, considering that he can only take a beating at present, even if he spends some effort, he has no hope. It is estimated that he will not be able to hold on for a long time, Xiang Dongxiu said. Yi's divine power source is still very fierce. It feels like Qin Yi is hitting a ball that has no power to fight back. Although the ball is a bit hard, it will always be deflated. After all, Zhang Zizai does not really master the Demon Lord Cauldron. However, only Qin Yi, the person involved, is more depressed the more he fights, especially after Zhang Zizai has supported the fierce bombardment in front of him. He has initially resisted it. Next, he holds the killing god Xianbing in his hand and starts to attack Qin Yi. The opponent's sixth level of the initial god realm was indeed very violent, but Zhang Zizai was only focused on attacking, not defending at all. He didn't care how Qin Yi hit him. He was determined to do it. After recognizing this point, he was actually very difficult to deal with. No matter how powerful Qin Yi was, she still needed to estimate his attack. For example, at this time, the surging black thunder erupted, forming a thunder pool, blocking the surroundings. When Qin Yi moved, black lightning was everywhere around her, bombarding her body, which had already caused restrictions on her. Especially from this time on, Zhang Zizai kept using the Great Chaos Thunder God Flash. She failed to catch the destroying Demon Lord Cauldron. After losing Zhang Zizai's position, she could no longer bombard and kill continuously. Moreover, it was not her who was described as crazy now, but Zhang Zizai. The Great Chaos Thunder Demon Fist. He got up after being knocked down countless times, stared at Qin Yi, and used the killing god's mysterious soldiers as a guide, punching and killing. This punch triggered countless thunders, and the black lightning gathered together and burst out. Qin Yi could only avoid the sharp edge temporarily. Even so, those lightnings and thunders still caused trauma to her body. Although most of them were blocked by her, it was enough to cause headaches. Be good, don't be so rude to me. Qin Yi smiled coquettishly. You are rude to me, sister. Zhang Zizai's eyes flashed a smile. He relied on the protection of the Demon Lord Cauldron and continued to attack. After the attack began, the pressure on the Demon Lord Cauldron was reduced. He was sure that if there was no Demon Lord Cauldron, Qin Yi's strength would be able to play with him at will. But after all, he had the capital. Whose sister is so gentle? Qin Yi threw a coquettish eye. The scene of the two fighting was fierce, but the words seemed like flirting. She has many methods, and is proficient in fist, palm, and finger techniques. She constantly puts new pressure on Zhang Zizai's Demon Lord Cauldron. Many attacks can penetrate a part of it, but Zhang Zizai's body after the transformation of the demon dragon still holds up. But he did not fall completely below, because his various attacks, whether it is the Star God Sword Manual or the Great Chaos Thunder Demon Fist, made Qin Yi very afraid. She couldn't attack as recklessly as Zhang Zizai. "Can you still hold on?" As time passed, a quarter of an hour passed in a blink of an eye. The ancient gods were a little surprised to see that Zhang Zizai could still hold on. After all, it is a god-level totem weapon. Yi may have to spend a little more effort, Murong Meng said. Just as she finished speaking, Zhang Zizai found an opportunity to suppress it with the Great Chaos Immortal Sword formation. This time, the domineering sword energy directly forced Qin Yi to dodge. In the surging sword energy, several layers of shields on her body were torn apart, and the whole person was a little embarrassed for a while. This made Qin Yi stunned for a long time. Then she chuckled and said, "You are really capable, with a bright future. Sister is optimistic about you. Why not just take advantage of the situation and lose to me? Maybe I can share the spoils with you," Zhang Zizai said with a smile. "In that case, I will be skinned and cramped." Qin Yi giggled and twisted her snake-like body again, like a lingering, but in fact every move was a terrifying force. "How long will this fight last?" Zhou Lingxian smiled helplessly. In fact, he was still very optimistic about Zhang Zizai. So far, he has seen a little possibility. "My friend is very persistent." Xuanhuan covered her mouth and chuckled. In fact, she was relieved that Zhang Zizai did not lose directly. No matter what, she was not ashamed to be able to hold on for so long. Xuanhuan soon realized that she had said this too early. Zhang Zizai was not here to last. After about 2/4 of an hour, everyone understood his intention. He obviously wanted to rely on the Demon Lord Cauldron to consume Qin Yi. "Sister Yi, how about we fight for 3 nights?" Zhang Zizai ignored her attack and attacked with a crazy and violent attitude, but his tone was very gentle. "That depends on whether you can hold on." Qin Yi's eyes teased and touched her heartstrings. "Sister, just watch and feel it carefully." Zhang Zizai smiled. That's right, he dared to challenge Qin Yi and pursue the triple entry ceremony. His way was, to consume. As long as he was not defeated, he would consume as much as possible. Anyway, with the Demon Lord Cauldron, he was always in good condition, but Qin Yi had to break the Demon Lord Cauldron to win, and her consumption was higher than Zhang Zizai from beginning to end. So, she never expected that Zhang Zizai was true, and he was really competing with Qin Yi in endurance. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 789. Time kept passing, their battle seemed very exciting, but in fact, no one was injured. Qin Yi was constantly consuming energy, and it was more difficult for her to break the Demon Lord Cauldron, and Zhang Zizai could not defeat her for the time being. In a blink of an eye, an hour passed. Everyone looked at each other, feeling that it was actually very boring to continue like this. However, Zhang Zizai had 10,000 patiences. After all, that was a god-level evolution source that had not been obtained for hundreds of years. If he missed this opportunity, there would be no similar opportunities again. His character was tough enough to make him grit his teeth and persist, and after experiencing Qin Yi's rough attack at the beginning, he became more and more stable. After an hour, it was already very boring. The ancient gods were a little depressed. They felt that Zhang Zizai had dragged this test into another rhythm. Even Xuanhuan was a little impatient. She could not see the hope of Zhang Zizai's victory, so she was considering whether to take him away directly. This is a way of playing a hooligan, but this guy really has ideas. If this goes on, there may be a little possibility. Zhou Lingxian smiled dumbly. Evil ways, Murong Meng was somewhat disdainful. Everyone knew the gap between Zhang Zizai and Qin Yi, but he just kept on consuming. Next, they would find that Zhang Zizai's patience was even more than they imagined. As time passed, he was still consuming and attacking. When Qin Yi felt that she had struggled to restrain her attack, he suppressed her instead and launched a violent attack on her. It was as if he was sticking to Qin Yi. It was difficult for her to get rid of Zhang Zizai, because this guy seemed to be getting more and more proficient in using the Demon Lord Cauldron. Qin Yi clearly felt that she was becoming more and more powerless to break the Demon Lord Cauldron. Ah, if this goes on, I really won't let him suppress me, right? She had this previously unimaginable idea. When this idea came up, the situation began to give her more and more headaches. She found that the look in this guy's eyes was really aggressive, which made her hairy all over. It felt like the identities of the two had been reversed. She seemed to have become the prey, and Zhang Zizai had become the hunter. As long as she attacks, she will be consumed by him. If she does not attack, he will keep pestering her. If she is not careful, she may be injured by him. She has not met such a difficult boy for a long time. Is senior sister so weak so soon? Good San, yeah, you can't surrender immediately. Zhang Zizai's eyes are very sharp. To defeat a person, you still have to defeat the opponent from the heart and affect the opponent's performance. San, yeah, it's only been an hour. Qin Yi had a severe headache, but she still said, don't think too much, you will suffer next. She insisted on attacking for a while. This time, it seemed that she almost broke through the Demon Lord Cauldron and ended the battle, but it was almost, so Zhang Zizai held on, and as a result, she caused another wave of consumption, and her mental strength seemed to be exhausted again. When she was tired, Zhang Zizai suppressed her again, making her dodge in embarrassment. The balance of the battle seemed to change quietly in Zhang Zizai's rogue style. Then she understood that in Zhang Zizai's budget, 1 hour was not the limit at all. He definitely set himself 3 patiences, and in such a shameless way, he used the Demon Lord Cauldron and Qin Yi to consume. This kind of person is the most terrible. Qin Yi was depressed. She had strength, but Zhang Zizai controlled the rhythm. She kept wandering between the two ideas of breaking the Demon Lord Cauldron with all her strength and saving strength to consume. The result of this wandering made her consume more. When 3 hours passed, Qin Yi was already a little depressed. She didn't even want to fight, but there was no way. She couldn't surrender in this place. She could only hold on, but her mental strength had been suppressed by Zhang Zizai on the opposite side. This aggressive and suppressive look made her soft. You are so rude. Qin Yi said irritably. Don't you like it, senior sister? Zhang Zizai was like a wolf in the dark, eating away the lioness on the opposite side step by step. This was a patient battle. Zhang Zizai had been hinting at him with 3 nights. In fact, when 1 night had passed, Qin Yi could no longer hold on. She had consumed so much energy that she had no more strength to break the Demon Lord Cauldron. Zhang Zizai was also very exhausted and pale, but the key was that his Demon Lord Cauldron was still intact. At this time, the advantage of the Demon Lord Cauldron was still magnified. There are still 2 nights. My brother can even play with my senior sister for 10 nights. Will my senior sister not be able to hold on? Zhang Zizai smiled. His smile was lethal. Qin Yi was afraid. Such a person was like a devil. He completely suppressed her with his own rhythm. The situation of the battle was constantly changing. At this time, even Master Li was silent. Other divine masters were also somewhat silent. Only Zhou Lingxian smiled bitterly and said, the triple entry gift infinite world that has not been given for hundreds of years, will it be given to Zhang Zizai in such a bizarre way? To be honest, Zhang Zizai definitely did not have the strength to crush Qin Yi to get the triple entry gift, but the current situation was a bit of a headache. This. Master Li felt a little pain in his heart when he thought of that result. After all, that was a god-level evolution source, which was quite precious. This guy, Xuanyu's eyes brightened up a lot when this possibility became stronger and stronger. Her thoughts gradually changed. When she found that she seemed to have really seen Zhang Zizai, she didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Could this guy really give me a surprise? After a while, when Zhang Zizai turned around and overwhelmed Qin Yi, Xuanyu's feeling was already extremely strong, and the expressions of other divine masters, except Zhou Lingxian, were getting uglier and uglier. Qin Yi's condition was already very bad after being tortured by Zhang Zizai for 2 consecutive times. She had already been exhausted and was just holding on at this time. Sister, there is still time. Let's play slowly. You must not die first. Zhang Zizai smiled and looked energetic. This made Qin Yi desperate. She collapsed a little and began to attack frantically with her last strength. In the end, she couldn't move the Demon Lord Cauldron at all. Zhang Zizai saw the right time and seized the opportunity. He directly used the killing god Xianbing to attack, and suppressed Qin Yi's head with a move of the Great Chaos Immortal Sword Formation. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 790. Boom boom boom. This time, Qin Yi failed to dodge the Great Chaos Eternal Sword Formation, allowing Zhang Zizi to suppress it. The sword energy storm formed a sphere, engulfed her in it, and almost tore her whole body apart. The ancient gods all watched. He understood that if Zhang Zizai was ruthless this time, he could kill Qin Yi. The battle is over. When Zhang Zizai fell easily and Qin Yi stood there with disheveled hair, the entire white jade platform fell into a state of deathly silence. Until Zhang Zizai said, "Thank you, senior sister, for teaching me. I fought with my junior brother for 2 nights in a row. Senior sister worked hard, but in the end, I won. Please don't hate me, senior sister. As the saying goes, as long as you can win, the method is not important. Right? Okay, let the masters judge the cattle." Qin Yi was a little confused. She couldn't figure out the meaning of Zhang Zizai getting the triple initiation gift. Just looking at this young man, I found that he really has a kind of fascinating magic in him. Teacher, dear masters, I think Zhang Zizai achieved victory in a despicable way. He violated the rules and cannot be considered a success at all. He does not have the strength to defeat Yi at all. He only used despicable means to maintain a stalemate. He is not worthy of the 3rd level of entry. Li, even our God King Palace, should not have such opportunistic people. Sun Yu hurriedly came to help Qin Yi, speaking righteously, but his hand was gently pushed away by Qin Yi. He said, "I'm fine," and then said, "Masters, don't listen to him, I was defeated." This was a brave plan, not a trick. Yi. Sun Yu thought too much, causing Qin Yi to glare before closing his mouth. "Master, what do you think?" Zhou Lingxian asked. "Why don't you use it? Of course you should take out the initiation gift quickly. We don't even know who the disciple is. Why is it so strange to get the triple initiation gift?" Xuanhuan smiled broadly. She now loves Zhang Zizai to death. If there weren't so many people, I would have wanted to pick her up and shake her around. When word spreads about the triple entrance ceremony, my face will be greatly enhanced. Although the method was a bit bumpy, the result was good. She found that Zhang Zizai gave her more and more surprises. Now that she saw this guy, she felt happy. I did win in the end. It's understandable to get the triple entrance gift. I will record this matter, so don't worry too much. As for the triple entrance gift, it must be awarded to Zhang Zizai. Master Li looked very distressed, but seeing Xuanhuan beside him, he couldn't do anything. Yeah, Xuanhuan's heart beat high, her face flushed, and she cast her charming eyes over her, making people fascinated. Master Li took out a space jade pendant and said, "The 1st level entrance ceremony, the 2nd level entrance ceremony and the 3rd level entrance ceremony are all here. If you can get the 3rd level entrance ceremony, Zhang Zizai, You are the first person in our God King Palace in hundreds of years. If you are alone, you will probably become famous. Many people will envy you. Thank you Master Li. Master Li will live forever for generations to come. Zhang Zizai quickly took the treasure and felt happy. He was so happy that he got the treasure. Although it took a lot of effort, it was worth it. You have to thank me. Qin Yi pushed Sun Yu away and walked up to Zhang Zizai. Thank you, senior sister Yi, for that. Your appearance will last forever and will be immortal. You are the one who will live forever. As Qin Yi spoke, she glanced at his belly, raised her eyes, and said, in the future, come to Yunmen Pavilion to find me. Let's spar for 3 or 3 nights. Let's see. On the other hand, who can't hold on? Zhang Zizai was shocked. This was too explicit. Is the God King's palace so open? He felt that Qin Yi was eyeing his body. Sister, your senior brother Sun will be out for a while, so he won't know. Qin Yi continued. Such an obvious hint was really unbearable. You must come. Senior sister, I want to teach you a lesson. Who told you to bully me like this today? Qin Yi finished, then twisted her waist and went back. Sun Yu asked her what was wrong, and she said some cruel words. Sooner or later, she will take revenge. Guys, it's time to go. Xuanhuan was in a very good mood, but the initiation ceremony was over and she was in a hurry to go back to practice. Master Zhang Zizai quickly returned to her side. You have special taste. Are you interested in married women? Xuanhuan said with a wicked smile. Nothing, Zhang Zizai said righteously. Haha, I don't think you like it either. She is still the pure and lovely sister from last time. Xuanhuan smiled and asked, after you go back, do you want to try totem evolution? Zhang Zizai thought for a moment and said, let's try it. The evolution source of the Divine King level is extraordinary, but there is a certain possibility of evolution failure. Your talent is not bad, I guess it is very likely to succeed. If you succeed, your potential value will be high, Xuanhuan said. Understood. Any evolutionary source has the possibility of failure. This is normal, but according to people with high luck and good gifts, the possibility of success is relatively high. In fact, an evolutionary failure of the Divine King level evolutionary source is very serious. Such a heavy loss, the forces of the divine domain will definitely consider carefully if they grant their disciples a god-level evolutionary source. The initiation ceremony is a relatively special method. Otherwise, if Zhang Zizai wants to evolve his totem, he will definitely have to go through several tests and evaluations. Xuanhuan was not very optimistic about him at first, but now her attitude has changed. She feels like she has found a treasure. If Zhang Zizai succeeds in totem evolution, then she seems to be getting another god with talent comparable to Yan Qingqi. Disciple, if you think about it this way, the quality of her disciples is really very high. Hearing that Zhang Zizai wanted to evolve his totem, Li Shi said, I'll go take a look too. Other divine masters seemed to want to follow them. Qin Yi and the others also wanted to watch, but their divine masters disagreed. There were too many people and too many things to do. It was better to have fewer people involved in such a big event as the evolution of the totem. On the way back to the Misty Rain Tower, the divine masters surrounded Zhang Zizai, making him flattered. Do you think he has a high chance of success? Master Li asked Xuanhuan. From his performance today and his background, judging from his performance in the Divine King Palace, he should be a person with low talent but great luck, and luck has the greatest effect on the evolution of the totem, so I think he has a higher chance. I hope so. It is really a pity not to waste a Divine Lord level evolution source. I personally think it is a bit hasty to treat the Divine Lord level evolution source as a triple entry gift. The granting of other Divine Lord level evolution sources will be evaluated for a long time, so that the benefits can be maximized. But after all, it has not been granted for hundreds of years, so it is also an exception, Master Li said. Believe him, Xuanyu was confident. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 791. Zhangzai, the source of evolution in the infinite world, is a very majestic source of evolution. Wuliang is an endless force. The world is the mundane world. The infinite world is countless worlds. This is a space force. The source of evolution, if you can succeed, will allow you to have a certain degree of power to control the universe. This is a very profound power that is very precious to the God King Palace. Frankly, the way you obtain such a valuable treasure is a bit too simple. Other disciples of the God King Palace need to spend at least 10 times more effort than you to achieve the same creation. You are really lucky, so you must succeed in evolution. Okay, with so many divine masters looking at him, Zhang Zizai felt a little stressed. However, his totem evolution has never failed, so he can still relieve this pressure. Soon after, Yanyu Tower arrived. So many divine masters came together, which surprised Yan Qingqi. He was talking to a woman outside the palace. When Zhang Zizai came back, he found that the woman was Suyuexi. Suyuexi's face was still as cold as ever. She was wearing a long moon-white dress. When she and Suyanyu were together, they looked similar but had completely different temperaments. They were so beautiful that they were both beautiful and troubled sisters. No matter where you go, the scenery is beautiful. The king of the gods suddenly gave birth to 2 such proud daughters in these years, making many similar beings very envious. Suyuexi didn't expect Master Li to come either. Her eyes moved to Zhang Zizai with a puzzled look on her face. This guy still came to Yanyu Tower, which made her very unhappy with a certain misophobia. Especially, he also played a trick on her. When Master Li arrived, Suyuexi didn't say hello, but just looked at her coldly. This was her character, so Master Li didn't dare to trouble her. If she annoyed the witch, he would have a headache, so when he saw Suyuexi, he had to say, "You Miss 11 is beautiful again, God King is so lucky." Stop flattering. Suyuexi rolled her eyes, making Master Li look embarrassed and could only smile bitterly. Impolite Suyanyu also had a headache for her sister. "Sister, do you want to send this person away?" Suyuexi glanced at Zhang Zizai and asked. She remembered that today should be an initiation ceremony, so she smiled and said, looking at the situation, "He must be leaving empty-handed." "You guessed wrong, he has gained the infinite world," Suyanyu said with a smile. Huh, Suyuexi and Yan Qingqi were both stunned for a moment, and then they were both in disbelief. Suyuexi said, "Are you sure you're not joking? The triple initiation ceremony is not something casual. I took care of this matter, and I am responsible for any problems." Zhang Zizai did indeed perform well. Master Li's majesty is still there. With this, he has basically confirmed it. I've known it for a long time, so go take a look. This guy must be using some rogue means. Going back on his word is not his style, Suyuexi said coldly. Zhang Zizai found that this guy was a bit targeted at him, but he was not afraid of her. When he slapped Bai Yingying, Zhang Zizai couldn't have given her a good look. "Sister, so many people want to see his totem evolve, right?" Suyuexi guessed. "That's right," Suyanyu said. "Haha, then I also appreciate it. It's a meaningless waste of the divine level evolutionary source," Suyuexi said. "Shit, I'm going to beat you up. This is my divine disciple. Why don't you say anything nice?" Suyanyu pouted. "It seems that his performance today satisfied my sister," Suyuexi asked. Suyanyu nodded with a sweet look on her face. "That can't cover up the fact that he is rubbish." Suyuexi was really not polite at all and directly criticized him. "It looks like it." Suyanyu obviously had great confidence in Zhang Zizai. They arrived at Zhang Zizai's residence and asked Zhang Zizai to go in while they waited outside. "I'm waiting for your good news. There will be rewards for successful evolution," Xuanhuan said charmingly. Okay, after such a big battle, and Xuanhuan still looked down upon him, Zhang Zizai was still quite motivated. He closed the door, took a deep breath, and immersed himself in the beauty of his own world. "Actually, I can't control whether the totem evolution succeeds or fails." Zhang Zizai understood this. So whether he succeeds or fails next is actually up to his fate. However, he found that maybe because the source of evolution was so important, he had never been so nervous when the totem evolved in the past. He sat cross-legged on the ground and took out the space jade pendant. There were 3 things in the space jade pendant, which were the rewards of the 3 initiation gifts. There was only 1 box among them, and the others were a book and a weapon. Obviously, this box was the source of evolution in the infinite world. It was a black box. Zhang Zizai took out the box. It was a box specially designed to store evolutionary sources. It was made of top-quality materials. The style was a bit like the black box Zhang Zizai saw when he got the totem, but of course it was just similar. He took a deep breath and slowly opened the black box. Inside the box, there is a cubic crystal. The crystal is transparent. There seem to be countless spaces inside. Each space seems to be a world. This is an evolutionary source that looks very advanced. That kind of fantastic space ability makes the first time Zhang Zizai saw it, he was immersed in his Zhenji. Infinite worlds. If it can evolve successfully, will it be the dragon totem of the infinite world? In fact, the Tai Chi beginning demonic dragon totem is very powerful. After all, it is a totem created by adding a god-level totem and a source talisman. Zhang Zizai's current physical strength comes from this god-level totem. Among the god-level totems, the Tai Chi demonic dragon totem is very high-end. However, the god-level totem is another level. The level of the totem almost determines the limit of a totem warrior. If it can evolve successfully, then Zhang Zizai will not have a big problem in becoming a god. In the end, it is possible to reach the level of the god level, which is already the top powerhouse in the god realm. He took a deep breath. If I can become a god level, maybe I can be free and live a free and unrestrained life with Zhu'er and Lingdang, free and unrestrained in the mortal world, and can travel around. This is my dream. Zhang Zizai imagined it for a while, and it was really beautiful, but I didn't know how to avoid Lingdang when he and Juxian played something exciting. Having a daughter is troublesome. When she grows up, throw her out and let her make her own way. Zhang Zizai has already thought about it. Everything depends on this evolution source. He picked up the evolution source, held his breath, and moved closer to the center of his eyebrows. In the infinite world, the space inside was gradually changing and trembling, as if it was attracted by Zhang Zizai's totem. But for some reason, Zhang Zizai felt uncomfortable and a little nauseous. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 792. Zhang Zizai was preparing to evolve his totem, but he found that this time the evolution of his totem was much more difficult than before. This problem never occurred before. That is, his totem and the source of evolution repelled each other. The more he brought the infinite world closer to his natal totem, the more disgusted he felt. This disgust came from the inside out, and he felt uncomfortable all over. The strangest thing was that when he separated the infinite world from his natal totem did not absorb the source of evolution to evolve at all. Instead, the two had nothing to do with each other, and even invisibly, a repulsive force was generated, squeezing Zhang Zizai's hand out. Can there be such a strange thing? Zhang Zizai really didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He felt like an outsider at this time, and the totem and the source of evolution had their own tempers. He wanted them to merge and evolve, but these two things were like they were alive and didn't want to at all. Everyone outside was waiting for his totem to evolve, so he tried his best and persisted for an hour. He survived countless times of nausea, but the frustrating thing was that the process that could easily evolve before was now completely ineffective. He knew from this situation that it was impossible to evolve successfully today. In this case, he was in a relatively good mood, so he put this matter aside for the time being. He stood up and thought to himself, they are all waiting outside, I'd better tell them the actual situation. Maybe they might have a reasonable answer to this situation. But just as he stood up and prepared to take 2 steps, he had other ideas in his mind. No, if I tell them, if they don't understand this situation, they may think that I have no fate with the infinite world, and then they may take back the evolution source, because they will think that this evolution source is a waste from me. There are so many people watching because this God-level evolution source is too precious. If it is taken back like this, it will be a big loss. This is a risk. Once they think it is a waste to leave it to Zhang Zizhe, they will definitely take it away. Thinking of this, Zhang Zizhe secretly said, then I can only put away the infinite world first, and then tell them that I failed to evolve. Although they may feel sad for a while, I may find a way to evolve in the future. Announcing the failure of evolution to the outside world has a certain psychological pressure, but for Zhang Zizhe, it is nothing. After he made psychological preparations, he opened the door and walked out. It was only an hour in total, and they were still here. For a while, the eyes of the ancient gods quickly focused on him. As an ordinary beginner god, when he was subjected to such a gaze, he naturally felt some pressure. Xuanhuan, Master Li, Zhou Lingxian, Bai Qinghua and others focused their eyes on his forehead at the first time. The difference between the god-level totem and the god-level totem can be seen at a glance. If the totem evolves, Zhang Zizhe can at least improve by 1 level, and it may take at least 10 times. It will come out in 1 hour. It is obvious that they have an ominous blessing directly. Failed, Xuanhu's eyes trembled slightly. Yes, Zhang Zizhe nodded. After all, it was not a real failure, so he was not very regretful. He still looked contented. Alas, many of them immediately showed a look of disappointment and sighed deeply. It's a pity that the god-level evolution source. In history, anyone who can get it in the initiation ceremony is an extraordinary person, and the possibility of successful evolution is 90%. Master Li sighed. It is really a pity that the evolution failed. Thinking about it carefully, it is really hard to feel comfortable. After all, Master Li knows that there are more proud sons in the God King Palace, and it is very likely that they will succeed in evolution using the infinite world. A failure is really dejecting. Ah, Xuanhu also pouted. She was still full of confidence in Zhang Zizhe, but she didn't expect this result. She looked a little depressed and a little dejected. I thought you could give me a surprise. Xuanhu couldn't hide the disappointment and frustration in her eyes. Now, all the face that Zhang Zizhe gave her before has become a shame. If this matter gets out, she will also be a little embarrassed. After all, the evolution failed, wasting the resources of the God King Palace. It's a pity, but don't be sad, life is not always smooth. Zhou Lingxian sighed and said to Zhang Zizhe. As for the other god masters, they were probably a little happy in their hearts, but they just didn't show it. From their eyes, they must have felt that the jumper from the totem world was just a jumper after all, and it was not really good. Occasionally there was a special performance, but it couldn't cover up its essential mediocrity. What is there to comfort such a person? I have long known that giving him the God King level evolution source is a big waste in itself. Now, even my sister has to follow you to embarrass herself. Zhang Zizhe, you are really a good-for-nothing waste. Xuanhu was angry in her heart, and she couldn't control her words. 11 Shut up. Xuanhu was a little annoyed. She said to everyone, if there is nothing else, you can leave first. Master Li, I'm sorry, I won't see you off. Her temper also came up. Yanyu, it's all work. I'm leaving first. Master Li understood her mood and didn't want to stay, so he rode away on the cloud. The other divine masters shook their heads. Except for Zhou Lingxian, they all walked very fast. After turning around, they all smiled. Junior sister Su, the evolution of the totem is not something you can control, so don't blame him too much, Zhou Lingxian said. Go away. Su Yuexi glared at Zhou Lingxian, forcing him to turn around and leave awkwardly. He was scolded by his elders, but he really had no way to do anything. The two daughters of the God King were princesses of the God King Palace. It was nothing for him, a God Master, to be scolded. Go back to, it's annoying. Su Yanyu glared at her. It's your own decision. You accept such a person as a God disciple. You will regret it later. Su Yuexi was too lazy to stay here. Her contempt for Zhang Zizai had risen to an extremely high level. When she was about to leave, Zhang Zizai suddenly said, Su Yuexi, don't make conclusions too early, so as not to be too embarrassed later. You still want to embarrass me? Foolish dream, I heard that you climbed up to the God realm from the totem world. Sparrows are sparrows after all. Do you think you are a phoenix when you fly to the branches? I asked you to choose Zhou Lingxian, but you chose my sister. You still dare to tease me? Haha. At this point, Su Yuexi was really angry. No one in the entire God King Palace dared to tease her like this.